Hello, world. Welcome to episode 203 of the Jimmy Canz Show, Classic Supercard Retrospective. We're going to roll the clock back, take a look at WCW Beach Blast 93. This was the second and final Beach Blast as they turned around and kind of rechristened this particular pay-per-view Bash at the Beach after this. So canonically, the Beach Blast events and the Bash at the Beach, they're all kind of lumped together. If you look them up on the network, etc., you'll see what I'm talking about. But anyway, this particular one took place on July 18th, 1993, from Biloxi, Mississippi. 8,600 in attendance. Obviously, they said WCW promoted event, broadcast live on pay-per-view, later released on VHS, courtesy of Turner Home Entertainment. 8 matches on the show, including count them, four title matches. This was actually the first WCW pay-per-view with Eric Bischoff now serving as executive vice president. So, sorry, got the sneezes. Anyway, um, so we're starting to see Eric's influence on the company at this point going forward. So, the first contest of the evening was for the WCW World Television title. Ron Simmons challenged Mr. Wonderful Paul Orndorff. They were supposed to have wrestled at Clash. Orndorff had sustained an injury in a car accident and was unable to compete at that Clash, so this got pushed off into Beach Blast. Orndorff actually wins this match via a DQ when Ron backdrops Orndorff over the top rope. So Ron still booked strong in this one, but not booked to win. Honestly, I can't say I disagree with this one. The television title on Ron, I don't think would have made a lot of sense. He's already been world champion. Uh, Putting him in the television title picture, if you're not going to put him back into the world title picture, he's better off just kind of uh, finding, honestly, finding greener pastures elsewhere, which he eventually does do. These moves off to the WWF fairly shortly after this. Within I think the next 12 months, he's going to be over in WWF. So anyway, next match on the card was a tag team contest. Our new tandem of Marcus Bagwell and Two Cold Scorpio facing off against the team of Tex Slazenger and Shanghai Pierce. Now, for those of you unaware, Tex and Shanghai would be in the WWF soon. Well, actually, was Shanghai that first showed up in the Fed, was given the gimmick Henry O. Godwin. And then slightly later down the road, he is joined by Tex, who would become Phineas I. Godwin. This was an early um, look at the Godwins. This was pretty much booked 50-50. Bagwell and Scorpio do end up getting the win via a 450 in this one. Not too surprising here is they're trying to push this new tandem of Bagwell and Scorpio, so it's not too surprising that they booked them to win this one. Next up, you've got the matchup between the young Eric Watts taking on Lord Steven Regal, who had Sir William in his corner. Regal ends up getting the win in this one while holding the tights. So, they're really booking Regal pretty strong in his early run here in WCW. But in booking him strong, they're also booking him dirty. He's doing a lot of grabbing the tights and things of that nature at this point in his career. Next up, Johnny B. Bad takes on Max Payne. This is the first one really in their feud that started the previous Clash when Payne shot Bad's Bad Blaster into his face. So Johnny's now wearing a mask. anyways, it's kind of a sloppy match and a sloppy finish. But Bad does pick up the win with a second rope cross body. Uh, so he gets the victory there, but this feud's not quite done yet. But we are, moving forward. Next up, uh, contest for the WCW World Unified Tag Titles. The Horseman, Paul Roma, the Enforcer Double A Arn Anderson challenged the Hollywood Blondes and Steve Flying Bryan. Another tight pull in this one, and a 3 count and a retention for the heels in this one. Next up, an Iron Man match for the vacant U.S. title as the Natural Dustin Rhodes faces Ravishing Rick Rude. This one actually ends up in a one fall tie. So after the 30 minutes, each man has one fall. So it's tied, and we still have no United States champion. Dragging this one out a bit, aren't they? NWA World Title is on the line. Next, as the Nature Boy Ric Flair challenges Barry Windham. Flair does end up defeating Barry for his 10th reign as a world champion in an odd finish, a pinfall as a result of a figure four. So what Wyndham was selling the pain of the figure four, and as he's selling the pain, he's laying back and laying back, and he lays back, and his shoulders are on the mat, and Randy Anderson actually counts the three, and then he sits up real quick, but that the three was counted. I don't know if that was the intended finish or if Wyndham wasn't paying attention with his selling, and Randy Anderson said, "Oh, well, the shoulders are down. I better count." Referees. I think. Yeah, I know the WWF referees are always told, "Hey, just count it. If they don't kick out, they don't kick out." Um, I think WCW officials are told the same thing. I'm pretty much sure all officials in professional wrestling are told that. Just count it, and they better know what they're doing. And if they don't, we'll make adjustments after the fact. But don't pull up because that looks even worse. So anyway, um, and then our main event on the evening for the pay-per-view saw Sting and Davey Boy Smith face off against the Masters of the Power Bomb, who were WCW champion Big Van Vader and Sid Vicious. And they had obviously Harley Race out there and Robert Parker out there in their corner. Prior to this, we get, some of those classic WCW mini movies that we're getting at this point in time. Now, those were so bad they were good to an extent, but I know it's professional wrestling. I know we suspend disbelief, for a lot of things in professional wrestling, but this mini movie saw the heels use a little person to plant a bomb on the babyface's boat. Now, maybe it's just me, but this is attempted murder. So I think you're going a little far with some of this stuff in these mini movies. Uh, I guess you could say that you've had situations like this before. If the warrior getting locked in a coffin, airtight coffin, the snake biting savage or biting warrior's face. Even though they said they were devenomized, et cetera, et cetera. So I mean, you kind of guess had some of these, you know, things in wrestling in the past, but this one was just a little bit over the top. I mean, this was like a bad episode of Baywatch. But anyway, it also, I mean, is this 1993 in WCW, or are we watching like 1966 Batman here? It was kind of like that camp cheese too, which was really bad. But anyway, um, solid contest. And Davey actually ends up getting the win for his team when he gets a 3 count on Vader with a crucifix pin. Uh, so Sting and Davey win this one, and that was the show. In terms of Hall of Fame involvement on this show, There were 11 WWE Hall of Famers on this show. You had, Harley Race, you had Paul Orndorff, you had Ric Flair, Steve Austin, Arn Anderson, Barry Windham, Ron Simmons, Sting, Ravishing Rick Rude, the Bulldog, and Big Van Vader. So we include Ventura, who was doing commentary, and Bischoff, who was doing interviews. That takes us up to 13. So pretty extensive list of Hall of Famers on this one. I mean, you got a lot of former world champions on this list, and Race, Flair. I mean, they weren't world champ. Some of them hadn't been world champion yet, but in retrospect, Race, Flair, Austin, Simmons, Sting, Rude, Vader, all will either already had or would be world champion. So all in all, uh, aside from the campy cheese of the mini movies, this was actually a pretty solid WCW show. Wasn't perfect. It was pretty solid. Um, uh, some of the finishes, though, were hard hard to accept. Like like the DQ for the TV title. You had quite a few, grabbing the tight situations. Non clean finishes. Rinse and repeat. So there wasn't a lot of variety there. But uh, almost everything on this card, not everything, almost everything on this card had some story to it, which was a rarity for a lot of WCW early on. So that was a good thing. But the finishes for a lot of them were a little, yeah. You got Flair getting the title. The finish was kind of weird though. The tag titles didn't change again. Another, dirty pin, Regal with a dirty pin, etc. etc. So I mean, it wasn't great. It was middle of the road. It was, like I said, it wasn't a bad show. It wasn't a great show. It was there. It was. I definitely think we're headed in the right direction. Based off of what we got in terms of reviews for some of the previous WCW shows over uh, the last 12 months or so. Uh, this is definitely a step in the right direction, in my opinion. Like I said, that's one of the weird things with WCW was like it was NWA times. It was weird because there wasn't a lot of story outside of one or two individuals. There's just a lot of stuff just thrown on shows, a lot of multi-man matches just to get people on shows. That was like a trademark calling card, so to speak, of those NWA days. Then it becomes WCW. uh, Starts off a little rocky, the RoboCop stuff and everything like that, and everything, and then we start to kind of trend a better way, and then Jim Herd and the wheels came off, and then from Herd you go to Bill Watts, and there's some good things under Watts, but then there's some weird things under Watts and everything, and now we're into the Bischoff era, and it starts out a little wonky. Um, like we're seeing a trend to some better things, but then it's going to go off the rails a little bit. I'll be honest with you, it gets a little bit um, too Saturday morning cartoon for a while. Uh, then the NWO stuff comes on and it really takes off. And then they start letting the inmates run the asylum a little bit too much, and it just goes down the tubes. So we'll get into all that, but this is where we're at right now. We're in the Bischoff era. So in terms of rating this one, like I said, on my 10 belt scale, it's middle of the pack. It's not awful. It's not phenomenal. So I'm gonna give this a 5 belt out of 10. Um, the Flair title win was solid, even though the finish was weird. Like just getting that belt back on Flair, I think made sense at this point. So we'll see where it goes from here. So our next classic retrospective that we will go and take a look at will be SummerSlam 93. So spend your summer uh, sitting on the Lex Express, waiting for this one to hit the old YouTubes, uh, probably sometime in early August. So give us a like, give us a share, give us a subscribe. Wherever you all are, I hope you're doing well. Take care of one another, and I will see you all when I see you.